Oh, stuff feels terrible. We'll pick out like a couple of the bad ones. Just go from there. Yeah, you're hoping that the WD-40 and stuff will help cut through the greases and the grime and stuff, and provide a little bit of lubrication so it doesn't scratch the surface too much. Because you want to keep the finish on these bolts, stop the corrosion and stuff. And that's the plan anyway. Yeah, if I get most of the grime and stuff off, then when I put inside the chemical to get rid of the rust, it'll actually be able to do its job. So that's a really easy one. That's not taking too much work. That's just copper grease in there. It's not rust. But we'll clean that out, like I said, just in case there's little bits. I'll probably spray them all just before I chuck them, before I chuck them in the rust remover. I'll pop a bit of, give them all a wash with a bit of brake cleaner. Okay, so that's a really easy one. Let's try and get something that's a little bit, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, so don't expect to get the come on. Really? What's going on? You could use a Dremel or something. I've got one, but just do it by hand. It's quite therapeutic, to be honest. And then the thing is with the Dremel and stuff, if you've got those wire wheel attachments and stuff, it can scratch and take off this coating quite easily. So it's still abrasive, but it's just a little bit. It's not as harsh, really. Yeah, you try not to forget that the rust and stuff will hang around inside there. And like I said, if we're doing a whole new engine, when that beast comes, it's going to be great. So I wanted to just obviously have the engine bay bolts and stuff matching, really. So like I say, there's a bit of copper grease and stuff. Well, not a bit, there's quite a lot of copper grease, but it's a good thing. At least it stops the corrosion and that building up. But if I can just clean what's inside the threads and stuff, I'm happy. Because then that chemical will get to it. It's probably due me getting another piece of this in a sec, because yeah, it's breaking up quite badly. Now I would use a wire wheel sometimes if this is too, like on the Dremel, just to get the stuff out of the threads, but this is working okay so far. Okay, cool, so in there. And what I will do is inspect them. Like, it takes a day or two, and that chemical, to be honest, can sometimes take 3 to really get all the stuff off, because it's a slow, doesn't react that hot, you know, that quickly. And that's probably why it's also safer on the parts. You'll see what I mean. They'll keep the finish. For all the people that are worrying, you know, you want to remove rust and you want to keep you don't want to damage the finish. This is the chemical to use, is that Evaporust. But if you're impatient, then you would use something more harsh, but it will damage the finish. You know, the whatever that plating is. Like I say, you don't have to do this step, but if you want it to work, you know, to the chemical to get to everything, this is a good step to take first. Okay, so that's, I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to go for. I mean, obviously there's worse. I mean, that one there's particularly bad, but you'll see what that comes out like after. But there we go. So you want to get them roughly to that before you put them in the chemical. Just get most of the grease and stuff off. Okay. And then maybe I'll attack this bit while we're here, actually. Let's do that. Let's see what we can do with something like that with that. That could do with, like I say, cleaning with a bit of this wire wool, and then you just polish that up. And that's probably what it looked like originally. And this could also be like, you know, that what looks all grey could be hiding some rust underneath, which I think may be the case here. But this wire will just make really short work of that, like, abrasive. So I don't even know what you would call that when the metal gets those imperfections on it. If it's like water, it's like the water and stuff drying on it. Constant heat cycling as well doesn't help. So that even moves. Okay, so where are we with everything? Apologies, we've got a choir in the back. You can hear the dogs busy howling, left in the car. So somebody left them, there's a few in there. They've been singing along. So yeah, so just clean this with the wire wool and a bit of WD-40. It hasn't, you know, taken away a lot of the blemishes, but took off all the grease and stuff, and shown me some rust there, or, you know, revealed the rust. So that'll go in the bottom like that. And like I say, I'll show you how this Evaporust doesn't affect the finish and stuff. There's quite a lot of rust in there. It's a little bit darker now because I've just cleaned it, but things like, a couple of them have cleaned up quite nicely, as you can see in the bucket, but things like that's pretty bad, right? Quite a lot of rust. This will take a while. I might need to leave this in for a day and then agitate this, because like some of the rust will just knock off later, but there's other ones will come up beautiful. Oh, sherbet. I'm trying to keep these bolts together as they were left by the garage. because I don't want them to, I want to keep all the washers and that in their specific order, and it's pretty hard to remember it all. So yeah, and this stuff, you can use it, and if you don't have much rust on the bolts, you can pour it back in. It's like reusable until it goes really dark, then they recommend for you to stop using it. So I just want to come up, I'm going to come up quite high here because I want to cover all those rusty bits. So that's pretty cool. You can see a couple of bubbles and stuff, but that's sort of the chemical reacting already, but it's not that harsh. Like, you can get this on you and you don't need to worry. Obviously don't get it in your eyes, but you can get it on your skin and stuff and it won't hurt. But some of the others, you put that on your skin, like I got another one that's quite strong, and yeah, you get that on your skin and you can feel it straight away. But that would strip off, you know, all of the sort of shiny finish and that sort of anti-corrosion finish. So yeah, we'll leave that. That's going to take days. We'll revisit that and we'll see what the results look like. Okay, so we've got the gloves on. Let's get these, pop these shades on as well, just in case. Okay, so you've had this inside this rust remover for 2 days now, I'd say. So this will be quite interesting. You'll see how, check that. See that? Can you remember all the rust that was there? Because you can see where somebody had cut it and it lost a bit of its, I don't know, that galvanized or weird finish. So you can see there's still a bit of rust there, but do you see the way I just rubbed that? And the rust wiped away. That's what I mean. It might still look. That's why it's worth you taking the parts out, because it looks like there's still a bit of rust there, but if you just give it a wipe, the rust is gone. You can see maybe a tiny bit in those holes. So what you can do is you can go with a bit of wire wool, but I might submerge this whole piece in it. It's all gone, but you can see the way it took off this. So I'll put the whole piece in, and then we'll give it a little rub with some wire wool afterwards. But that, obviously, that'll take a while again, but let's try and see if it did the same here. Check. Cool now. Let's try and get you some. Yeah, it's nice. This is really well. There was rust forming in there, I think, if I'm correct, and that's all gone. So that's pretty cool. But like I say, we'll dump all those pieces in. Okay, so now because that is so deep, you can touch this, it wouldn't do anything, but I'd always recommend to wear gloves anyway. Let's pour a bit of this off so we can get to it. I don't want to put my hands really deep in there. Yeah. You don't want to be drinking any of that and explode. You ain't going to be having a workout, right? End up in the hospital. Okay, so these are the brackets off of the off of the intercooler. So you can still see there's some rust in there. Let's try and see if we can find some wire wool or something. Okay, so those are a bit rusted up. Gone. So that's cool. Those can come out. This one had, I think, more rust. Yeah. Let's give it a little wipe. See, you could still see it looked like there was still rust there, but there's not. It just sort of sits on the surface. Hard to describe. You have to agitate it because you get all these little. You won't be able to pick it up with this camera, but there's like tiny little holes everywhere where the rust has sort of eaten it away, and that rubber is still fine. There'll be nothing wrong with that rubber when I clean it, but you want to clean it off and give it a wipe, because if it dries, it leaves like this yellow sort of like haze to it. I'll just pop this in as well because that was a bit rusty, so that baby can probably come out. Give that a wipe with WD-40. So now what we do is we just go and take out all of the bolts in it that look good. Just get the wire wool in there, just see. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, nice, huh? So like, yeah, these have come out great. Nothing wrong with any of these. It's come out beautiful. No rust there. That bracket came out pretty nice too. Give it a... Yeah, we'll give all that a wipe. Would have got in between all of them. You just want to make sure you haven't got any sort of rust hiding away. So like I say, if you do see anything on the surface, like that was a little bit dirty, just give it a wipe and the rust just falls off. Pretty cool, huh? You want to try and see, sometimes it will catch the rust or stay in the threads. So you want to see, so you can see there's a couple of bolts that are quite rusty still. Check that, see? Look at that. See, so it's not really worth putting in too much effort on the prep. You want to put some pre-prep stuff in, but this chemical does so much. Oops, we've gone straight through there. So you don't want to be sticking my hand too deep into that. Don't worry, it's not the acid eating the gloves away, he says. These little grommets and stuff, these can be an issue. I couldn't push this one through. But you can sometimes have like stuff hiding and rust and it hiding in them. Okay, so I think you get the picture. Well, let me show you. I'm going to change that glove in a sec. Let me show you guys a bad one. Okay, so that bolt there, you can see that finish is still on there, that like gold sort of finish. I don't really want to be, I want to change this glove, to be honest. Let's see, so that isn't really wiping off. So that's got to do another round. But what I'll do is I'll scrape that all away as much as I can, and then we'll do another round with that. But you can see a couple of them have stayed. Are still quite bad. But we'll get them back in. They'll do another day, I think. Let me get this all cleaned up. Put these out for you, and then you can at least see. Okay, so here we go. So if you see that, that's pretty much how you can get it end up looking. So it looks a little bit moist. What I did is I just took like a piece of cloth. You see a couple of drips of oil actually. So I did a bit of oil, a bit of, I think it's GT85 or something, and then I just lightly rubbed them so they slightly coated in an oil. So what they'll probably do in the garage is they'll probably spray it off if it needs to be torqued up to a certain point. The reason why I popped a little bit of like oil on it and stuff is just to like stop it rusting before it gets there or something. So yeah, so I think that looks pretty good, right? Compared to what it looked like before. We'll have a look. Let's have a look at the ones that are going back in. So like I said, it's not a secret or anything. You won't, some of them won't, you know, you won't remove all of the rust, but you can see that's just, if you rub it, it comes off a bit, see? But that needs another soaking really. So we get that. Try and knock off some of the crusty stuff. Check the bolt moves freely now as well. So that actually the rust remover, like it went into the threads, that wasn't moving before. It's pretty cool, huh? Check there. There we go. Check. It's pretty sweet. And that one's moving as well. Not as much as the other one, but just knock off some of that surface stuff. And then yeah, that's going to go back in the juice. These babies, not as much came off in them as I wanted. There's a slight bit there, but I don't know if it's maybe to do with the finish or something. But they're going back in. Some of these, that build up there. That I might, some of these I might do with wire. See, some rust still inside the thread. You probably can't see with the camera, but some wire left there. Some rust left on the thread. These could do with a little bit. I don't know what happened there. They went to town on that bolt. Probably not going to use it again, but I'll just do it anyway. That one's still got a bit of rust on the edges. You can see where they took off that protective coating. And that's got a little bit of rust, a little bit in the head. And that as well, gave it a bit of a clean, but I can see tiny specks of rust. So we put that baby back in. Okay, so remember this one, don't we? So that went in. You can see the different colour. So what we'll do is we'll put the other side in. I just want to dip that bit in there a little bit. So give it a little bit more juice. And this baby here now will go in. Submerge it as much as I can. And there we go. So we got those so far. I think that's pretty sweet. I mean, it looks really good, to be honest. And that's it. We'll wait for the others to come out, and then I'll show you the total end result. And yeah, you pretty much could finish it up here, to be fair, but it'd be nice to show you guys how those brackets come out. So yeah, that's that. Okay, let's have a look. What are we going to do here? Okay, so we need to pour some of this off. Yeah, we're just going to pour this off. I thought we'd start working at the table. I do not know why. I was busy working, sitting down. It's actually quite uncomfortable. Well, pretty comfortable, but not the best when I watched the video back, to be honest. So it's going to be maybe better if we just do it all from here. Okay, these brackets. I need an old, let's get an old towel. Ignore the 20,000. I just found all those old ones in the old toolbox. So ignore all them. We'll put those in some rust removal. We'll see how good they come out. So that's pretty cool. We just want to try and get to these bolts. Try and pull off as much as we can without this little bit of jungle juice there to the side. What have we got here now? Hoping the light's picking it up, but that one looks much better. That also, we'll get that with a Dremel or another attachment. That's pretty cool. Yep, all gone. Should actually be putting it on here, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing. Because the thing is, if you don't put this stuff, well, whatever you put it on, it leaves this like yellow stain. So that's something to be aware of. So that's pretty cool. Cool. So let's see if we can see. Hopefully it's bright enough for you guys. That's cool. Pretty good, huh? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's say for instance you had a bit that was still being a bit stubborn. You just get like a wire wheel, but imagine, well, just remember this is quite an aggressive brush, so if you put that in any, it'll pretty damage that finish. But you can use a little Dremel. This will just knock off that bit of surface rust if it's still on there. Check, there we go. Seized, all gone. See, so that there, see that? Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing what I'm doing here, to be honest, because this will flick the bolt and those spikes right into your fingers. But there we go. Let's give that a bit of a wipe with some What have we got? No joke, it'll just wipe off. Because it's sort of like, it's hard to describe. Sometimes it'll just sit on the top. You probably can't actually see that nicely, or you can see really well. Hopefully there's lighting. Well, I'll know when I review it back if I need more lights. But yeah, there we go. So that's what I'll do. I'll just go around. These don't even need any of that. Just spray these down, a little bit of WD-40, a little bit of oil on them so that they don't get any more rust. Like, you know, from the atmosphere and stuff, if any moisture hits them. And then, yeah, these bolts can go back to the garage and they can get them all installed. I'll show you, I'll get the other camera out and we'll do a proper little look at them all finished. There we go. All done. So those were the two really troublesome ones. Where's the other one? You can't even see it, it's so clean. Look at that. Move all freely now. Brackets. Just shows you what a little bit of elbow grease will do, really. And chemicals. So yeah, that's it. All nice and shiny. They can go back. Yeah, really happy with how that came out.